They want to do MRIs and stuff on my head to find out because I was in a car accident in 2016. So I
Okay.
get a bunch of headaches and crunching motions in my neck and ringing in my ear. So now that they know that part, they want to do an MRI, see if there's anything else going on in there to cause the headaches and stuff and why I'm getting them. So,
Hey, fellow workers. My name's Kim Siever. Welcome back to another episode of the Alberta Worker Podcast. This is Season 5, Episode 2. The Alberta Worker Podcast is a proud member of the Labour Radio Network, as well as the Harbinger Media Network. We're broadcasting from the territory of the Niitsitapi. I'm pleased to welcome today's guest, Dawn Adams. Welcome, Dawn.
hey,
We'll just go straight into it. We'll just have you tell the listeners a little bit about what life was like for Dawn growing up, where you grew up, what your family life was like, where you went to school, kind of what you did for fun, that sort of thing. So the floor is all yours.
I was a kid who was born in the 70s. I grew up in a small town in Cape Breton, and in 1979, we moved to Calgary. We basically lived in the northeast part of the city for the majority of my life, I'd say, except for maybe about 6 months in the northeast. I went to a couple different schools. I went to Guy Weedick Elementary in Temple, Colonel Scott in Whitehorn, Annie Gale in Whitehorn, and ended up at Feller for high school. I did go to Robertson College for about a year for my medical office assistant. Growing up, I mean, we were kids of the 80s. We, kicked out of the house at like 8:30 in the morning to go find our friends, had no cell phones. We had to go find piles of bikes around. We drank from the garden hoses. We were feral children. We were indestructible. We came in when the lights were on so we didn't get in trouble. And I basically taught my son to grow up as tough as he could, not throw punches. However, grow up as tough as you can. Basically, grow up how mom grew up, don't be a sissy. I've always had medical issues. He's had medical issues all his life. Being a parent to a kid with a severely ADHD, learning disabled, autism, being a caregiver to two parents who never got paid for, plus having all the plethora of disabilities on my own and working full-time jobs, it does take a toll, so all my life I've basically been in food industry. My first job was when I was 15. I worked at a fish and chips place at one of the local malls, and now I'm a cook slash assistant kitchen manager at a bar. I prefer the kitchen than retail any day of the week.
Sure. Did you ever end up working as a medical office assistant?
I did not because after around that time was just before COVID hit. And at that time, they wanted 2 to 5 years experience, but you can't get the experience unless you have a job. So it's that never ending, can't get the experience unless you have a job. Can't,
Sure. Yeah.
so it was useless. And now the student loans pile up and, never ending vicious cycle.
Yeah, totally. And so now you're at where you are now.
I'm at where I am now. So yeah, all my life I've been in food industry and I mean I'd kind of like to be able to have one of those, sit down jobs, but for that, to happen, you'd have to be able to have the experience and be able to get a job in it. And they don't want people without experience now. So it's a vicious cycle.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. How old were you when you moved from Cape Breton?
I was 4.
Okay. So you don't have very many memories of Cape Breton.
No, I think the only one that I really have is racing lobsters up and down my grandmother's kitchen with my sister.
Did you ever go back to visit?
Yeah, the last time I we went in as a family in 89, just before my grandmother passed away, but then me and my sister, younger sister went back in 2024. My older sister took us around. She still lives there. And I said to her, we went all around Glace Bay, Sydney, and that area. I said, the only place that I recognize is this street here.
Sure.
Once you leave there and you go back, it's like nothing looks familiar at all. It's
Right. Especially when you're that young.
well, exactly. And unlike the streets that I grew up in Whitehorn, we went down the other day and it's like, huh, it looks a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Tore down the old sheds and put up new fencing. I'm like, huh.
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in Regina and we don't get out there very much, but every once in a while we do. Our second oldest moved to Winnipeg. So now when we go to visit him in Winnipeg, we can stop off in Regina. And the last time we went through there, I decided to check out a couple of the places where I used to live. And one of them doesn't exist anymore. They tore it down and put up a high rise. And I was actually one of the schools I used to go to, they tore down and put in a subdivision where the school used to be, like the playground and everything used to be.
Yeah.
Happens, I guess.
Well, it's like our house, one of our old houses that my father used to grow up in Glace Bay. They had to tear it down because it was over 100 years old.
Our house is over 110 years old, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're the last owners.
Yeah, exactly, right?
What did your parents do for a living when you were growing up?
My was a nurse, and my dad worked with Calgary Transit
As a driver or something else?
as a driver. Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
okay, cool.
He was with Transit for 23 and a half years.
Oh, wow.
And my
That's
mother got her nursing degree just before my older sister was born, and she's now 53. So, and then she retired in 88, 89 from her disability. So she had arthritis and osteoporosis and everything in her back. So she ended up having to leave just with all the heavy lifting and everything.
right.
And she slipped and fell, I guess, one day and ended up really injuring herself. So she wasn't able to work anymore. So it was a big adjustment for everybody. And all the times when Calgary Transit was on strike, that was quite an adjustment because it was basically back then in the late 90s. It was like $100 a week in strike pay.
Right.
So we learned quickly on how to, get groceries for cheap with my
Sure.
mom.
And you said you had a sister?
I
Is it
have
just
two
the two of
sisters,
you?
yeah.
Oh, two sisters.
Yeah.
And older or younger?
One older sister, she lives in Nova Scotia, and I have one younger
Hmm.
sister who works here as well, lives with me.
Okay. So the older sister moved back to Nova Scotia?
Yeah, we ended up inheriting that house that got torn down.
Oh,
In 2009, and she moved in there. But it was just trying to keep up with all the repairs and everything on it. It was falling apart more quickly than we could than we could put money into it. So my
right.
dad just said, run away from it, get away quickly. And so now she lives with her husband in North Sydney. So
Okay. And what did your sisters do for work?
my sister works here. She works at Boston Pizza, and my older sister is on disability. She has multiple disabilities that limit her from working at
Right.
all. So,
Okay. So two of you working in food services.
yeah.
Runs
Oh,
in the
yes, we're
family.
all falling apart. Yeah,
Are you comfortable sharing with us what disabilities you have?
I do have ADHD, but I also, back in 2020, had a spinal fusion done on my back.
Oh,
I had 65% slippage in my L5S1. I also had what they call bilateral part defects. I had a fracture on both sides of my spine, and all my nerves wrapped around it. Now I have degenerative disc disease in my L3 and L4 and in my C4, C5.
oh wow.
They want to do MRIs and stuff on my head to find out because I was in a car accident in 2016. So I
Okay.
get a bunch of headaches and crunching motions in my neck and ringing in my ear. So now that they know that part, they want to do an MRI, see if there's anything else going on in there to cause the headaches and stuff and why I'm getting them. So I'm falling apart,
Yeah,
like I
no
said.
kidding.
So basically, from the spinal fusion, I'm unable to lift, pull, or push anything over 100 pounds. So it does cause a problem sometimes when I have to go with my mom's. Like, all I'm able to do is pull her, walk her in and out of the car.
Right,
So she can't take her wheelchair because I'm unable to push her. And, so
right.
it causes a bunch of problems sometimes.
Yeah. So you said you were taking care of your parents. Did they live with you?
My mother does not now. She is in an assisted living place now.
Okay.
I was her caregiver since 2009.
Oh wow.
Her and my father. My father passed away in 2019. He
Okay.
had COPD and diabetes. Not really well treated, but yeah. on his part, not on the doctor's.
Sure.
But yeah, I was their caregiver. I was basically the driver, the meal maker,
Of
So
course. And when did your mom move into care?
February.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So like 17 years you were taking care of her?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time. Hmm.
Yeah. And then on top of that, with my son, he has severe ADHD. He's severely learning disabled. He's
Okay.
on the lower end of the autism spectrum, and
Right.
so, but he's on ACE, and God knows what's going to happen with all of that now, going from ACE to
Yeah,
ADAP, and
no doubt.
he might be able to stay on it. He might not be. I don't know.
How old is he?
He's going to be 29 at the end of the month.
Oh, okay. And he's living at home as well?
Yeah, I'm his well, basically his executor slash trustee of his
Okay.
accounts and everything. So
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, busy.
busy, busy.
Not much time for anything else.
No. I do watch Survivor and I do watch things like that, but yeah.
Okay.
After I get
Some
home from work half the time though, I'm just wiped, so
Sure, of course. It's nice to have some escapism though.
yes. It is.
And so how have your disabilities affected your work?
They haven't really, but what it does cause is like I get lower back pain, and on Saturdays it's, change the deep fryer day so I can, change them and take the oil out to the back, but I have to rely on the younger guy when he comes in to take the oil up the hill and dump it because, basically the lifting motion just really
Of course.
wrecks me. So,
Yeah,
and
that
ever
makes
since I
sense.
had got my back done, so then my sciatica acts up, so it's
Sure.
it's just a never ending story.
Yeah. So that kind of leads me to my next question, which is something I ask of all of my guests, is how has your intersections of marginalization ever influenced your experiences as a worker? And so that's like gender, ethnicity, religion, economic class, disability, sexual orientation, whatever it happens to be, ways that other people might be marginalized. How have those affected your experiences in the workplace? And that could be workers, bosses, or customers, or whatever.
Where I work is really great. We all get along really well. I would say, though, I think the one young guy who works in the kitchen with me thinks that I'm just full of, BS, and I tell him, I really can't like be trotting these up the hill, like,
Right.
he just gives me the, yeah, sure, Don, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do it. So I take it up the hill, I get rid of the oil. I'm like, okay, Jordan, the oil is gone. He's like, oh, thank God. I'm like, I can't do this, but I do it because you give me nothing but grief.
Sure.
He's like, well, I just don't like doing it. I said, you think I like relying on people? No.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really good environment. It's just some people I don't think they take you serious when you say you can't do it. They're like, oh, well, you look like you can do it. You look like you're, a hefty girl. It's like, hefty isn't how. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
You're not in a wheelchair, so you must be able to do whatever they can.
Yeah, well, exactly. The owner, he saw my disability thing on my placard on my car, and he says, "Why'd you have that?" I'm like, "Well, because, I had a spinal fusion done and I'm never going to be the same again." And, my doctor told me that, I'll probably need this for the rest of my life. He says, "Oh, okay, well, let me know if you need anything." So it's just this one guy in the kitchen who just doesn't,
Yeah.
understand, and, he's autistic and he has, a bunch of issues too.
Okay.
And you think you'd understand, but I'm like, okay, Jordan, let's work together on this. If I do a couple, you do a couple, So I wait till he comes in now, and the two of them trot him up together. But before, it was just a struggle for me to get him to take him up the hill.
Right.
But other than that, like it's just like sometimes I get the pain in my back, and it's just, I'll be standing there. I'm like, oh, and the only thing I can do is like bend over the freezer and try and get some relief for a bit. But other than that, there's not really a whole lot of marginalism in it. And, they know that even if I do have the disabilities that I have, that I don't like to try and let them get in my way, to not make that, a whole part of my day and like, oh my God, I can't do this because of this. So they know that I mean business wise, like, well, I don't like for these things to get in my way. So,
Sure.
and they're accommodating. So, I mean, the marginalism there, but I do see it a lot, especially where my son worked, because even though they said that they understood what his disabilities were and that he was on ACE and that they were, one of these ones that supported it, They certainly did not. And after my son got hurt and had to quit work, he went in, he says, I slipped on the ice outside and really hurt my knee. His boss then said, oh, well, that's your problem, not mine.
Oh
And when
my
he came home
goodness.
and told me, I said, no, 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 Zach. No, that should have been a WCB
Yeah,
thing right there. I said, technically, you are their responsibility till you walk through the door.
right.
I said, if anything happens, like they're responsible for you, and especially since it was just right outside of work. And he says, well, she told me it was my fault. I said, no.
He didn't put the ice there.
Oh God. No, I think when he put in his resignation and there was a sarcastic reply back in email like thanks Zach. I'm like, oh my God. I don't even think you're wanted there anymore. So I'm kind of glad that you got out.
Yeah, that's too bad he had that experience though.
And so many people are so nice to like and accommodate a lot of people with disabilities, like I find, but some are just they bend over backwards to make you feel like you're not wanted there.
Right.
And I think that that's how he felt in
Yeah.
in that instance. And I know a lot of the places I worked before, they were the same way. Like they would not treat you like anybody else. You were totally different. And that's a sad part in this day and age, that we might be different in ways, but we're really not. We do function still in some ways the same way as everybody else. And it's hurtful to see that people are stereotyping us like that.
Of course. Have you been with the same employer the entire time you've had your back issues?
Well, when it first started, I was working at the airport, and then I was off there for 3 years because I was in such bad pain. They were trying to figure out what happened. And then in that year, those 3 years, I did have the surgery, and then I was off for a year because they didn't want me lifting or anything over like 10 pounds. So that kind of negated anywhere. And then I've been with this employer now coming up 5 years. So this is,
Okay.
yeah.
How was work life like at the airport when you were dealing with your back issues?
It was a long walk. You had to walk through the airport. But I mean, once you got there, like it was a different kind of environment. I don't know. I was only there for like a year and a half, but
Okay.
it didn't seem like it was anywhere that I really wanted to stay anyways. I don't know. It was really clicky.
Okay. All right. And after you were done working there and you were looking for somewhere else to work, what was the job hunting process like?
You
Given
know,
that you're now a little bit older and now you have disabilities.
it was kind of odd because like after I had my surgery and I went to see my surgeon the last time, I asked him, I said, so when am I able to go back to work? He goes, you can go back to work whenever you want. So I literally came home and I started up my Indeed account again and I clicked it as active. And I'm like sitting around in the backyard with my sister one day and I get this call. And I said to my sister, I said, O'Sullivan's? What the hell is an O'Sullivan's? So I answered, and hi, this is Kevin from O'Sullivan's. I'm like, okay. He goes, you put your resume in with me. I'm like, I did. I'm trying to think back to what I did. He says, well, I found your resume on Indeed, and I want you to come in for an interview. I'm
Oh,
like, oh,
wow.
okay. So I went in, and he was looking at my prior experience, and it says, so why do you think you'd be a good fit? And one of the gals in the kitchen, she's just as crude as I am. I hear, Jesus fucking Christ. And I'm like, well, because of her, I need to meet her right now. Like, seriously, she looks fun. And like, literally, I was hired on the spot because of that, because I basically fit in with everybody around there.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah, it was just basically open Indeed, and I don't know, he was the first one. I'm like, okay.
Sort of fell in your lap.
It did, kind of did. And it was kind of great that I didn't have to like, so that was like 6 years ago. I would have been like 46. I'm like, 46 years old. How the hell am I supposed to find a job?
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it.
Like
I'm
I
in my
have to pay
50s and I've
rent, have
tried
to
to,
pay for the car. Like, how am I supposed to do this? Yeah.
yeah.
My
And
sister's
plus
like,
the
well, you
older
can come
you
work with me. I'm like, no.
and the older you get, the harder it is to find work because people don't want to hire
Right?
older people.
Unless you have the experience in that one, like I basically tailor made it just for like the food industry because I knew at that point in time I didn't have the experience as an MOA to be able to go into anything like that. And I didn't really want to do retail again because retail just wasn't my cup of tea. I worked at Walmart and I worked at Boutique Leathers, and I just didn't find it anything that I wanted to do. I figured, I've worked in several restaurants, worked at a couple of in food service. I'm like, "Pff, I know this like the back of my hand. Sure, I can do this." So
Sure.
so
Cool.
yeah, got back into something familiar, and I keep threatening. I'm like I say at work, I had to take one of the invoices because last summer I was the interim kitchen manager, and I had to take one of the invoices to the manager, and I said, "Here you go." She goes, "What's this?" I said, I look at her, I said, "My resignation letter." She turned around, she goes, "It better not be." I'm like, "Okay, okay." All right, I'm joking. I'm joking. Sorry. I don't find it marginalizing there, but in a lot of jobs that I've had before I had my back surgery, I did find a lot of marginalization.
Okay.
Like, they look at you as being disabled, like you can't do anything, so they put you in like the menial jobs. Like, here we'll have you folding t-shirts, or we'll have you moving these plants over here and watering them. But
Right.
don't lift this TV that's, maybe like 4 pounds to put it over here, But like to have me doing the menial stuff, I'm like, this is just not what I want to be doing.
Sure. It's not fulfilling.
No, it really isn't, like give
Uh,
me more credit for what I can do.
right. Right. Yeah. Cool. Well, I appreciate you sharing that personal life story with us. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with the listeners?
All I can really say is don't let anybody tell you you can't do anything. Do what you can up to your limitations and do it to the best of your abilities. And let your employers and your coworkers find out exactly what you can do so that they don't think that you having a disability is the end of the world and they should never have hired you.
Awesome. Yeah. Great final words. Appreciate that. If people want to follow you somewhere and to be able to, read more about the thoughts you have on different subjects, is there anywhere they could do that?
I am on Instagram as Awesome Mom 1997,
Okay.
and I am on TikTok as Don Adams. Yeah,
All
I
right.
got a Canadian flag and a 13 on there, so if they're really looking for me, they won't have to look too hard.
Sure. And I'll link to both of those accounts in the description as
I
well.
was a big Johnny Gaudreau fan.
Okay. Once again, I appreciate having you on, Don, and I appreciate all the folks who are tuning in and listening to this episode. If people want to follow the Alberta Worker, you can find us on most of the social media websites. You can also visit us at our website, abworker.ca. And while you're there, you can sign up for our newsletter. We have daily, weekly, and monthly options. You can also, while you're there, send us a few dollars of support. The Alberta Workers relies entirely on the generous donations of our listeners and our readers. If you appreciate this episode, please rate and review the website and tell others about it. If you're interested in being a guest on the Alberta Worker Podcast, just send us an email, podcast@albertaworker.ca, or hit us up on any of our social media accounts. Thanks once again, Don, for joining us today. Thanks to all the listeners for tuning in. And as always, solidarity.